I will strive for excellence in all things. Perseverance. I will fulfill commitments and not give up or act on discouragement. Please join me for a moment of silence. Okay, well, it's great to see a few more people trickle in. It looks like we are still waiting on 2 people, though. Sahanasri is not logged in yet, and who else are we missing? Dikshita, would you turn your camera on, sweetie? Yes, Tig?
Like, what time does the meeting?
And Samhita, here she is. What time does the meeting start?
No, what time does the what time does the what time does the meeting end?
It'll be at about 10 or 10:30.
Oh, okay.
Right around normal time, but maybe a little bit sooner. Good morning, Samhita.
Good morning, Miss Gardner.
Oh, you've got your red, white, and blue on too. Great. Okay, well, let's start on some phonogram and spelling review today. Your assignments on Bright Thinker are back to pretty normal routine. Oh, nice. Is that Jaws?
No, it's from this series that I read called Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but red, white, and blue.
Okay, it technically has red, white, and blue. Is it red from the gums of the shark?
Yes.
Our literature yesterday was from Mrs. Campbell, but for the rest of this week, I'll be posting the reading videos back to the way we would usually do them. For Princess and the Goblin, yesterday was a big chapter, wasn't it? Where did Irene's thread lead her? Alexander?
All right, so okay, never mind, I forgot. But I know where the thread leads her. To dun 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 dun, Curdy!
Yes, we already predicted that. I know, a lot of you predicted it. So it led her to Curdy, and what does Curdy think of the story behind it? Aryansh?
Not a real thing at all. He just thinks that Ludi is just making up stories to Irene, trying to scare her.
Yeah, he thinks this is just a big story that you're making up. So we're going to see in the chapter today, once you watch the video, about what happens when Irene takes him up to see her grandmother. Will he believe her then? You think so? Okay, you'll find out in the chapter today. It's pretty crazy.
Because
did you read ahead, Emma?
If he didn't believe, then the grandmother would tell him. Her great big huge grandmother will tell.
So you'll see in the chapter today. In history today, there is a short video where I just go through the answers to the study guide that you did yesterday. So you can watch that and just review your notes for the test that you'll take tomorrow. Tomorrow is when you'll take your Vikings test. Okay, and for science, you're continuing today to hear about other things in our solar system. So you spent time learning about each of the planets in our solar system last week. This week, we're going to be looking at stars and asteroids and meteors. And you're going to be looking at some of the other things that exist in our solar systems outside of just our planets. Okay, for a phonogram review today, let's begin with the phonogram oi that we do use at the end of English words. Oi. Nice. And then write oi that we do not use at the end of English words. Sorry, I didn't mean to show that early. Oi that we do not use at the end of English words. Okay. Next, please write the phonogram ow-o, like ow-o, cow in the snow. Ow-o. Next, write ow-o, ooh-ah. Ow-o, ooh-ah. Ow-o, ooh-ah. Nice. And let's do two more. Ah that we do use at the end of English words. And then ah that we do not use at the end of English words. Ah. And actually, I'm going to add one extra one to go along with one of our words today. N, two-letter N, used both at the beginning and end of a base word. N, two-letter N, used both at the beginning and end of a base word. That's the GN one. The letters KN are N, two-letter N, used only at the beginning of a base word. This one is used at the beginning and end. Could somebody give me an example of a word that uses this? We're going to learn a new one in our spelling lesson today. Kruti, can you think of one?
No.
Good, like gnawing away at something, biting. Aryansh?
Gnome and sign.
Good. No would be the N, two-letter N.
I said gnome.
Oh, gnome. Yeah, gnome and sign. Good ones. Ah. And let's hear one more from Harika.
Green.
No, not grain. Oh, did you say rain?
No, no. I said green.
Oh, not green. Good idea. But that only uses just a normal N. Rain that we learned, like reigning over a kingdom, uses it though. Okay, so our word for today is going to use it like this at the end of a base word. Let's go through some words to review at this time, beginning with excel. Would you all write excel? Good job remembering that silent ks. Otherwise, it would be pronounced excel. Excel. And then if we make it excellent, how does it change? Good. We double the L for excellent. Double that L. Next, please write the word disappear. 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 Thank you for those of you who fired yours up. Everybody else, hold it up when you're done. Disappear. Okay. A couple of misspellings I see. One thing to keep in mind, just one S, but two P's. Disappear. So make sure you have one S, but two P's. Also, it says an E because of E at A. If you wrote just ER at the end, that would be disapper, would be the way we would say it. So we need E at A, so it says disappear. Excellent. Let's do also the word icicle. 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 Excellent. Most of you did really well with this one on the quiz. Icicle. Next, write musician and sound it out really slowly as you write it. Musician. Musician. Hold it up when you're done, please. Great job, Alina. Great job, Samhita. Marcus, are you writing the words? This is a great review for Friday's test. So hold it up as soon as you're done writing it. Musician. Nice. Okay, let's do one more. Pigeons. We think to spell pigeons. Pigeons. Excellent job, Harika. Alina, Alexander. Nice job, Aryansh. And Samhita. Okay, that's all the review for today. At this time, let's get out our binder for a new spelling lesson. Yes, Ariansh?
So in science, that PDF thing won't open up. It's saying page is not found
The one for today or yesterday?
for today.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll look into that after class and update it.
Yesterday for math, pages it didn't show up.
Okay. I wonder if it's for some of you, if you're pulling it up on a Chromebook that you can't see it. Were you pulling it up on a Chromebook?
No, it was a tablet.
On a tab. Okay, maybe that's actually what it is. Was that the same for you? Ariansh, were you pulling it up on a tablet?
No, I'm using not a Chromebook either. I'm using a normal laptop.
A computer. Okay, so that should definitely work. It makes sense that maybe on a tablet it didn't work. So could you not see the problems at all, Emma? Okay, I'll try to change the format. So we won't be able to do it right now, but I'll look into changing it so that people can pull up the science assignment from any device. Okay, for our new spelling lesson, we've got 5 words today, and the first one has that N two-letter N phonogram. The word is campaign. Did you say campaign? Campaign. So the word campaign is basically like a plan, especially for people to vote for you. So there might be like a campaign for someone to become senator, and that means they're spending money on maybe there to be television ads or signs to put up in people's houses. And that campaign is basically the whole plan for someone to vote for you. Has anybody heard this before? So yeah, campaign. Sound it out with me. And the N at the end of the word is what we're going to use the N two-letter N for. Campaign. 2 syllables. You sound that out with me again? Campaign. 2 syllables. The first syllable, ka-a-m, is basic code. That's a k making that first sound. What are the sounds in the second syllable? Campaign. P-a-n. 3 sounds. Good job, Harika. We're going to use a 2-letter A that we do not use at the end of English words. And the N is N 2-letter N used both at the beginning and end of an English word. Okay, campaign. Please write it. And Alexander, hold off until I say to start writing your word, okay? Yes, Tig?
Is this the first word?
Yes, you did not miss anything except for the review before.
Okay.
Do you have all your supplies for the start of the lesson? Okay. Campaign. Kruthi, could you turn your camera on? Okay, thank you. Is everything okay there? Was your brother coming in? I thought so. Okay, I'm gonna have to plug the lamp. Okay, campaign. Syllable break. Campaign. Okay, cross it out and rewrite it if you make any mistakes. And could I, what markings we need in the word from our shop?
The first syllable is basic code.
Mm-hmm.
And
So no markings there.
the second, then you underline the AI.
Good. We call this a two-letter A that we do not use at the end of English words.
Then you underline the GN.
Excellent. This is two-letter used both at the beginning and end of a base word.
Okay.
And Arshab, could you tell me what part of speech you think it is? It's, for example, the campaign lasted for 6 months.
Noun.
Excellent. It is a noun. Okay. That is all for campaign. Ty, your little baby Yoda is so cute over there.
I built both of these guys. I built both of these for well, my mom got these for me for Christmas, and then I built them.
Oh, from a Lego set?
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, here's Sahanasri.
And he comes out.
Oh, that's
This is
really
just his little
cool.
pod.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Sahanasri. We just started our spelling lesson. I need you to take out some paper, and you missed one word, campaign, and for the next word, you'll be able to see it, okay? Our next word, boys and girls, is something that many of you might have eaten for breakfast. Cereal. How many of you eat cereal for breakfast? Some of you? Samhita, Harika.
Not all the time. I mean, like sometimes I have like eggs and toast or pancakes or waffles.
That's a
but
good filling breakfast.
most of the time
I have oatmeal.
I have cereal.
I have
Nice.
cereal, just I didn't eat it in the morning today. Yes, I
Okay.
had a sandwich for breakfast yesterday.
Okay, boys and girls, let's keep ourselves on mute. But yeah, cereal is something that I'm sure many of you have all the time. And oatmeal actually is a type of cereal even. It's called hot cereal. So please sound out cereal, and that ol ending at the end is that al suffix, cereal. Okay? Cereal, 3 syllables. And the first syllable, what are the sounds? S, E, 2 sounds. Kuts says its second sound because it's followed by an E saying its name. Next, E, 2 sounds. Once again, E says its name in an open syllable. C, re. And then the last syllable, al, at-ul, basic code, just like our normal al suffix. Please pick up your pencil to write cereal is the way we slow it down. Cereal. Please hold up your paper once you're done. Should see campaign and cereal. Thank you, Alexander. Yes, Amhita?
I was just saying, can I mark the word this time?
Oh, I'd love that. Yes. Okay. Boys and girls, hold up your paper when you're done. I should see you all done writing cereal. Marcus, did you write it already? Cereal. Oh, very good. Thank you. Okay, so E, syllable break, E, syllable break, cereal. Samhita, go ahead and mark the word for us.
So on the number 2, then we underline the E. And then the second syllable, we also underline the E. And the last syllable, we put a thinking cap over the A. And it is a noun.
Perfect. Every marking and part of speech is correct. Great job, Samhita. Okay, the next one is the word column. Would you all say column? Column. There are columns outside of some buildings, especially they're inspired by Greek buildings. Did you all learn about columns when you learned Greek history last year? Yep, Aryansh?
Isn't cereal, the second E is supposed to be double underlined?
Cereal. We say both of them. Cereal.
Sounds more like to me it's silent.
We say it, but maybe it just kind of blends in with the others. Now, here's some pictures of columns. They're highly detailed. Greek and Roman buildings often had them. They are good for structure. So there are columns that support bridges, for example, but also some of the reason for using them is just for looks. Right, so you'll see them especially at important buildings like a state capitol, maybe. So here are some columns. Okay, so we're going to be writing column singular and also columns plural. Now let's begin with column. Sound it out with me. Column, 2 syllables. What are the sounds in the first syllable? K, A, O, 3 sounds. Basic code. Next syllable, 2 sounds. Now we've got a silent letter at the end of this. Does anybody know what it is? We say column, but we've got a silent phonogram at the very end. Dikshita, what is it?
It's an N.
Good, we've got a silent N at the very end. So we think of this as column. Okay, pick up your pencil to write column and remember the silent N at the end. Column. Great job, Alexander. Marcus, are you done writing the word? Okay. Column. K-a-l, syllable break. Column. Check that your spelling matches mine and cross it out if you made a mistake. Josiah, would you tell me the markings in the word? There's just one.
Double underline the MN.
We're going to double underline just the N because that's the only one that's silent. Okay, and Josiah, what part of speech do you think this is? It's a thing, like a part of a building.
Noun.
Excellent, it's a noun. Now, boys and girls, next to it, please write columns, plural. All you're going to do is add an S. It's a normal plural rule. Marcus, it doesn't look like you're writing, bud. I need you to write columns, plural. All we do is add an S to this word. Thank you, Kruthi and Alexander. Tig, did you finish? Okay. Columns. Columns. Same syllable and everything. All we do is add that S. Now, we're going to still double underline the N. We have one more marking to include. Aryansh, do you know what it is?
2 on the S.
Perfect. 2 on top of that S. And this is also a noun. Okay, time for us to do the last word. Our last word for today is desire. Would you say desire? In a sentence, you could say, oh, I desire chocolate cake for my birthday. Desire. What does that mean? Anybody tell me what desire means? Rishith?
Select.
Oh, good thought. Not exactly select, even though that would make sense in the sentence. Emma?
Like.
Good. It's like, or even more specifically, want. Desire, you could have as a synonym, want. Okay, so not need, but if you desire something, that just means you want it. Would you sound out desire with me? Desire, 2 syllables. And the first syllable, de. E is in an open syllable saying its name. Second syllable, z-i-r, 3 sounds. Z is what we're going to use there, and I says its name because of a silent final E, job 1. Okay, desire. Please pick up your pencil and write it. Okay, desire. Z-I-R. Desire. Hi, could you tell me what markings we need for the word?
Okay. For the E in the first syllable, if you say if you say desire, then you put a thinking cap, and it's double underlined if you say desire.
We'll put, yes, underline for open syllable, and it's an unstressed syllable, so it says kind of desire. You're right. Or desire.
And for the second syllable, there's vowel, consonant, silent, final E, job 1.
Very good. So how do we mark that?
Underline the I and R once, then double underline the E and put a 1 next to the double underline.
Perfect. Now, do you know what part of speech this is? If it means the same as
Verb.
want? Excellent. Verb. Okay, that is all for our spelling lesson. We are going to do some cursive, and if you do it on the same page, you can keep this. But to take a little writing break for now, go over our new poem. I put it in Bright Thinker. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to go over that, but I also want to walk through it all together. It's another poem by Lewis Carroll, and just like the crocodile, it actually comes from Alice in Wonderland.
What?
So the poem is called Father William. How many of you have already read through it a couple of times? You looked at it on Bright Thinker and went through it a couple times. Really good. It's a little conversation back and forth, and it actually, just like the crocodile, is making fun of another poem. Do you all remember how the crocodile was like, "How doth the little busy bee?" And it's kind of similar. So Lewis Carroll, he's doing his own version of another poem, but making it much, much sillier. And if you know anything about Alice in Wonderland, you know that is what he loves to do. He puts a twist on something and makes it much sillier and goofier. So let's go through Father William. And this is one that I love to have people take turns going back and forth, one person acting like the father and one acting like the young son, who they're going back and forth between. I'll do it for you first, but then I'd love some volunteers to have you unmuted. One is the father, one is the son.
Me. I want to be one. Me.
Good. Okay. So the first time, I'll just have you follow along with me.
Okay.
Right, so there's a young man, and the first stanza is the young man talking to Father William, and then it alternates every other stanza. So this is young man, Father William, young man, Father William, young man, Father William, and we are going to stop here. We don't have this part that says that is not. Okay. So picture this young man talking to Father William, who's not really his father. He's probably like a pastor or reverend. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head," just like you see in the picture. "Do you think at your age this is right?" He responds, "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it would injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none," he's saying, "I have no, why, I do it again and again." "You are old," said the youth, "as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet You turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple? Can you picture that? He's quite fat, yet he can do backward somersaults. And apparently it's because he kept his muscles very keen and supple by the use of some special ointment. You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet, which is like a soft, I think, goose meat. Your jaws are too weak, he says. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? He's saying you ate a whole goose with the bones and beak and everything. How did you chomp down on those bones and beak? In my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife. And the muscular strength that I gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. Can you picture that? Why are his jaws strong enough to eat a whole goose with the bones and the beak? Alexander?
Because his teeth are super strong.
He's been arguing with his wife for so many years.
That's right.
They're going back and forth, talking and arguing, and that's made his jaw strong.
What? That doesn't make sense.
Sweetie, don't unmute yourself unless you have permission.
Oh, sorry.
You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs. Father William by Lewis Carroll. Isn't that cute? Okay, I'll have a volunteer to be father and a volunteer to be the young son. Okay, we'll get a chance. Let's have Ty as the father, and we'll have Alina as the son. Okay, so Alina starts, and then Tig, then Alina, then Tig.
Okay. You're old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?
In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it would injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have done, why I do it again and again.
You're old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that?
In my youth, said the sage as he shook his green locks, I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple.
You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than soot. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it?
In my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife. And yet the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life.
You're old, said the youth, One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever?
I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs.
Well done. Give him a hand.
Yeah, I never
Miss
could be an
Gardner?
actress.
Great job, everybody.
Miss Gardner?
Okay, sweetheart, we've got to have permission before we unmute. We'll definitely have other people get a chance to do that going back and forth, but we'll do it again tomorrow instead. So let's begin though by, or let's keep going just a little bit more by trying to memorize these first 2 stanzas. And I highly recommend doing them as a pair because they go together. Like this first one, he's saying, "Why are you standing on your head? You've got white hair. You're obviously old. Why are you standing on your head?" And what's the answer from Father William? Dikshita?
He said it would injure my brain, and he said I perfectly don't have one yet.
Yeah, he said, it's not going to injure my brain because I don't have a brain anymore. Okay, so let's try to memorize the first 2 stanzas here. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" Let's try just that part again. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" Response, "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it would injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure, I have none. Why, I do it again and again." Oh, hello, Archie.
Cousin Archie.
Since my mom and Maeve are in Disney, my mom has to come over a lot to help my dad while he's at work, and she brought this little fella.
Oh, how lucky to get to spend more time with them. Alina, sweetheart, remember you can't unmute yourself unless you have permission.
We usually so we do a lot of stuff at like noon, and like for example, we're gonna go somewhere at noon, but in the time between when the meeting ends and noon, our mom just takes us to her house and lets us get like McDonald's on the way, and we stay there for like 2 hours doing absolutely nothing. Then we go do something, and then I have something to do at 4, and we stay there until like 3:30.
Oh, that sounds like a fun little day, breaking up your normal routine. Okay, boys and girls, let's go through those first 2 stanzas one more time, and then we're going to get started on cursive. So if you have a little cursive booklet or lined paper, you can take it out now. Okay. Remember, the young man starts. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" His response is, "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared," remember, "it would injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again." Okay, well, let's get started on letters today. We are almost finished with the lowercase letters of the alphabet. And today we've got a couple that are a little trickier because they look quite different from the print version. I'm going to make my own lined paper. You can do the same if needed. Or if you have your own dotted paper, you can take it out now. Okay. The first one we're going to do today is the letter X. Okay. Now the letter X is going to start with the same connecting stroke that we've used for the A and O, like that. So it's not like the U where it's just a straight line. It's going to curve and loop. So we begin with this connecting stroke, and then we just come straight down, like a wave. Now, after you're done with the whole word, you'll go back and put a line through it, slanting from here, diagonally, and then touching the bottom baseline. So again, we curve it like a wave. And then once you're done, you're going to go to this middle dotted line and then cross backwards. Okay, so in a word like axe, it would look like this. So you just kind of draw a wave, and then you go back and cross through it. Does that make sense? Okay. So just kind of a wave, and then go back and cross through it with a diagonal line. Please fill out a whole line of X's, and I'd love for you to try writing this word axe as an example of a word using it. Yes, Tig?
Here's how you make an X with Archie.
Well done, Archie.
Good boy.
He is so calm. I'm always so surprised that you can just pick him up, carry him around, and he's always so calm. He's a very good boy. Okay, now the next three look quite a bit different from their print versions. The first one is R. As you might have noticed when you were looking at the alphabet, if you've seen this one, the R looks quite different. It's right here. Now, some of these cursive letters have to end up looking quite different in order to connect to other letters. And so this is one that you just have to start getting used to. It kind of looks like a letter N, but it's pointier. And pretty soon you're going to be very, very used to it, but it may take more practice. So we start at the bottom baseline with the same connecting stroke like we do for the letter U. We swoop up, and then we make a little short curved dip, and then we bring it down. So swing up to the middle dotted line, short curved dip, drop it a little lower. You see how this is a little lower than the middle dotted line, and then drop again. So if I were to write the word R, there it is in the word. So swoop up to the middle dotted line, short curved dip, and then drop it down. So it should be pretty pointy at the top of both of those places, pretty pointy. And there should be a little bit more of a drop between the first and second point, like these.
Can you go over the R again?
Yes. So you make a swing up motion, and then a short curved dip, kind of swooping down, and then up again a little bit. Go up again, and then go straight down and curve out.
I can't see.
Okay, let me do it on the next line down. So swing up to the middle dotted line, then make a short curved dip, kind of going down. I went down and up a little bit, just a little bit. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Up a little bit more and then drop it down. So again, swing up, short curved dip going kind of down and up again, and then swoop it down again. Is that better? Okay, nice, Samhita. Although I'd love for you to make a little bit of a downward. Do you see how there's these 2 points? And the first one is up to the middle dotted line. The next one's not quite so tall. Okay, so again, we swoop up to the middle dotted line, short curved dip, kind of going down and then up a little bit, and then swoop it down again. Okay, are you guys ready for the letter S? Okay, and then we'll have the letter Z that we're not going to have time for, so we'll do that tomorrow instead, because tomorrow's letters are much simpler, so we can throw in the tomorrow instead. Now, for the letter S, we begin with that connecting stroke as we did the R. So swing up to the middle dotted line, and then we're going to trace down a little ways and then come out, making kind of a teardrop motion. Trace it back and then come out. So again, we swing up in the direction we read and write up to the middle dotted line, trace it just a little ways, and then we curve out sort of like a raindrop or a teardrop, and then trace that at the bottom.
What letter? It kind of looks like...
This is a letter S.
It kind of looks like an eye with like the eyelash and then...
Yeah, it does kind of look like that. Yeah, I think that because sometimes in my own handwriting, I'll kind of connect cursive and print together. So if you were to like try to make an S as you're just A, for example, it would kind of look like that. I think that's probably too hard to tell. But there is that curve at the bottom like an S. So if we were to write the word, let's do actually vase, the one we were going to do yesterday. So if we swing up and point and then connect to an A, we trace it down a little ways and then come out, make it a curvy bottom, and then trace it over to the next letter. Or saw, or so. So try a few with the S. This one may take more practice and review, but try to make it kind of look like a raindrop. Yes, Rishith?
When you said Z, when you said the cursive Z, when did you say we're gonna do it?
We'll do it tomorrow.
It's because see, it's kind of easy for me. That's why.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, once again, I want you to try not to work ahead at all because I don't want you to get into bad habits, but I am glad that you're looking forward to that one. Now, one of our spelling words we can actually write now based off of the things we've learned. So let's go ahead and do desire because that uses the S and the R. So here's the D. Remember? And then connect it to an E, just a loop. And then we go up to the middle dotted line, kind of come out with that light raindrop shape. And then there's the I. We're not going to dot it until later though. And then up to the middle dotted line, short little curved dip, and then over to another E. And then once we're done, we go back and dot the I. There's desire. Yes, Samhita?
We can also write circle.
Nice. Okay. Well, we haven't done the L yet. That's a really simple one, I know, though. We're going to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Once you're done with that, we are going to put our cursive away and take out 2 index cards for roots. And then we also have just a little bit to write in orthography notebook before starting our math lesson. Wow, a whole sentence. Great job, Ariansh. Okay, I know you guys have been excited about cursive. I'm so happy to see you taking on so quickly with this. Okay, for roots today, we're going to be learning 2 new ones. You'll be making 2 new cards. Our first one is the word adequate. Would you all say adequate? I'm looking for my marker. There we go. Okay. Now remember, odd means to, toward, near, or next to. The word adequate means it is equal to or even with something else. So if something is like just good enough, you call it adequate. So even with or equal to. Usually this is used as an adjective to describe something that's not great, but pretty good. It's just good enough. Marcus, are you doing okay? You can stand up and do some jumping jacks or move around for a little bit if you need a tiny writing break. Yes, Arshab?
Are the odd words Latin or Greek?
All of these are Latin.
Okay.
Okay, so you could say, you know, oh, did an adequate job on the test. It's even with or equal to what's expected, but not great. Now, the next derivative we're going to look at is adhere. To adhere something simply means stick to. So if you say something adheres to another, maybe it's glued on or taped on. Has anybody even heard this word before? To adhere to something could also mean that you're sticking closely to it. You're definitely going to do it. Here's a little comic to connect to the meaning of it. There's a surgeon that's saying, when we add her ear, we'll stick it here. So he's just going to tape on an ear to something, I guess. Adding her ear.
Miss Garner,
Okay, Alexander, can you come out?
Miss Garner, can you write in the chat?
Yes, definitely. I'm going to do that right now. So we had adequate, which means basically it's okay. It's just good enough. We say even with or equal to. And then we have adhere. Marcus, are you writing these down? Your dad emailed me, and I know for one of the weeks you didn't have any of these cards. You need to make sure you're writing them down. Do you see them in the chat? So adequate, even with or equal to, just good enough. Adhere, stick to. Okay, just to do a little quick review as we take out orthography to write down our words for today. Can you all act out adhere? To adhere. stick to something. Like, oh, my hands are adhered together. Act out an adjective. You remember what an adjective is? Throw it. That's right. A word thrown at something to modify it. Throw that adjective. And show me adequate. Yeah, it's even with, kind of equal. Adequate. Okay, nice job. Let's write our words in orthography. Lesson 63 on page 53. And then we'll get started on math. Our first word is campaign. Please write campaign. Does everybody have their orthography notebooks? Good. Okay, campaign. Next, cereal. Cereal. After that, please write column. Tiger, are you writing the words? Column. After that, columns, plural. And finally, last one was desire. Desire.
Miss Garner, I don't know where my
Notebook is?
yeah.
Okay, sweetheart. You have all of the words in your binder, right? Once you find your notebook, just write them in later, okay?
What's the second word?
Cereal. So campaign, cereal, column, columns, and desire.
Are we sorting out in pages?
Boys and girls, this is not question time. We shouldn't be unmuting ourselves without being called on. This is what we always do for orthography. So I want you to just follow along with this. We need to get started on math. So I'm sure you guys have some good suggestions of places to sort our words, but we're not going to do any sorting today. Okay. Once you're done with all 5 words, open up your math notebook, please. Okay, we are continuing to do some bar models, and I'm going to do another quick little review by looking at a little comic here. to really represent well the bar models that we'll be doing this chapter. We've got a teacher or maybe a PE coach here, and a bunch of kids on some red mats and fewer kids on these yellow mats. Deekshita, would you read what the coach is saying here?
How many children are on how many children are on the red mats? How many children are on the yellow mats?
Good. And as you can see, on each mat, there's an equal number of students. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, could we use multiplication to solve for how many are on these red mats? Yes, we could say 3 times 6, or 18 students are on the red mats. Now, there's just 6 on yellow mats. Now, what we're going to call this in bar models is, instead of talking about part whole bar models, this is just one unit. Can you all say unit? Now, in multiplication and division, we've got equal groups. This is 6, this is 6, this is 6, this is 6. Do we really have to talk about each of them separately? Each one is a different part? No, they're all equal. They're all equal to 6. We call this one unit. Once you know what one unit equals, do we know what all the units equal? Yes. With both division and multiplication problems, once you know what one unit is, all of the rest of the units are exactly the same. Makes it pretty easy. Okay, let's take a look at a multiplication bar model today. We're going to be looking mainly at multiplication. Emma, would you please read the story problem here?
There are 5 boxes of pencils.
Good.
Each box counts 12 pens. How many pens are there in all?
Very good. Okay, so in this story problem, and you don't have to write this down yet, boys and girls. I'll tell you when to start writing. But I do need your eyes up here. Come on, Marcus. I wish we all had our own textbooks, but since you do not, need eyes on the computer for this part. Thank you so much. Okay, so as Emma just read, there are 5 boxes of pencils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes of pencils. Each box has 12 pencils. 1 unit is 12. We don't have to label all of them individually. We just are saying there's 1 unit and it equals 12. Multiplying is the fastest way to solve this. If we know there are 5 units and 1 unit has 12 pencils, we can just say 5 times 12, which equals 60. So there are 60 pencils in all. Okay, let's take a look at this one now. It says Mark pays $195 a month for rent. I'm sorry, it's kind of blurry, isn't it? How much rent does he pay in all for 3 months? So 1 unit is how much? Rishith, how much is 1 unit equal to in this bar model? It was 12, sorry, in this problem.
195.
Excellent. 195. He pays $195 for 3 months. So 3 units would be 195 times
3.
3. Good. And we can solve that with longer multiplication, right? I'll just do it on a whiteboard for now. When you see 2 or 3 digit numbers that you have to multiply, it should make you think, oh, I'm going to have to stack my numbers here. And we can do this, right? Josiah, can you talk me through how to solve this type of multiplication problem?
So first we do 5 times 3,
Good.
which is 15. So you put the 5 down, and you put the 1 above the 9. 9 times 3 will be 27, but we're adding 1 more, so that would be 28. So we put the 2 above the 1, and we put the 8 below the 9. And 1 times 3 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. So the answer is 585.
Perfect. Great job, Josiah. So that is how we would solve 585 tells us how much he pays for rent in all 3 months. Okay, let's take a look at now a comparison multiplication problem. So those are part whole. Here's an example of a comparison multiplication problem. Harika, would you read this story for us? Starting at this, Zach.
Zach has 342 stamps. Ron has twice as many stamps as Zach. How many stamps does Ron have?
Very good. Now, what does it mean to say twice?
Like, Zach has 342 stamps. So Ron has 2 times more than Zach.
Very good. Ron has 2 times as much as Zach. The word twice means 2 times as much. It says it down here as well. Twice is 2 times. So this 1 unit stands for 342 stamps. 2 units, see they're the same size, same units, stands for 342 times 2. And if we solve that, we'd stack our numbers and solve that, we'd see 684 is how much 2 times or twice as many stamps is. Okay, let's do an example of a problem like that. So at this time, I want you to get your notebook out. I'm going to write a header at the top and do some examples of these comparison multiplication problems. This is lesson 9.1. before we get into an actual bar model problem, I want to write a couple of notes that I hope will really help you that are key words in word problems. The word twice, when you see it, means 2 times. I know for many of you, you know this already, but it is helpful to think of it as actually times 2. If you see the word twice, it means times 2. That is already telling you what you're going to do. Multiply by 2. Now, more keywords. Again, twice or 3 times as many, or 4 times as many, any of those. When you see that, it tells you comparison bar model. So when you see those words twice or 3 times as many, you're comparing. You're saying one person has 1 unit, like Zach had 342 stamps. Ron had twice as many. That means we're going to draw out a comparison bar model because there's 2 different people. One has just 1 unit. Marcus, you've got to be writing this stuff down, bud. You can eat as you write, but I need you to be writing this down in your notebook. So when you see these words, they're keywords that you're going to do a comparison bar model. Okay, so let's do an example of a comparison bar model. If we have time, we'll do also a part whole, but comparison is the main one I want to focus on today. Let's write specifically, it's a comparison multiplication bar model today. Okay, imagine that we've got Lowe's and Home Depot that are both selling seeds for plants. Lowe's and Home Depot's. Okay, I'm changing it up a little bit from what we'll see here in the book. So one of them sells 250 packs of seeds. I'm going to write this down like this. Lowe's sells 250 packs of seeds. Home Depot sells 3 times as many. And we want to know how many Home Depot sells. Can you all picture that? I think it's always helpful, just like with well-ordered language, to picture what's happening like it's a story. So Lowe's sells 250 packs of seeds. Let's imagine this is every single day. They sell 250 packs of seeds at a store. And Home Depot sells 3 times as many. Now, who is going to have a bigger bar? Who sells more? Marcus, does Lowe's or Home Depot sell more packets of seeds according to this?
Lowe's.
Actually, no. Look at this. Lowe's sells 250 packs of seeds, And Home Depot sells 3 times as many.
My bad, the screens. My internet isn't working as good.
Oh, that's
right
okay. Does
Oh.
that make sense when it says 3 times as many?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever Lowe's is, Home Depot sells 3 times that. So
Mm-hmm.
these are keywords that tell you we're going to do a comparison bar model. Let's put an L for Lowe's and HD for Home Depot. Now remember that with multiplication and division, we're going to have all equal groups. We just need to see how many units there are going to be. Now, Lowe's has only 1 unit, is what we're going to call it, 1 unit. How many seeds do they sell every day? How many packs of seeds? Kruthi, how many packs of seeds does Lowe's sell every day, according to this problem?
250.
Perfect. We're going to put a little label there, 250. So Lowe's sells 250. Now, Home Depot sells 3 times as many. So how many units do they need? If Lowe's has 1 unit, how many units do you think Home Depot needs? Aryansh?
3.
Excellent. We're going to make 3 units. Now, do we have to label each of these units? No, because we already know each one is 250. They're all 250. Now, we do want a question mark here because that's what we're trying to figure out. How much does Home Depot sell? How many packs of seeds? And how can we solve it? How can we solve for the number of packs of seeds Home Depot sells? Aryansh?
253.
Perfect. 250 times 3. Can you all solve that for a moment on your own? Solve 250 times 3. Stack your numbers like this. Marcus, do you have your pencil in hand? Okay, got to put the sandwich down for now. We have just a little bit more of class, and I need you to stay very focused until the end, okay? Yes, Alexander?
I got the answer.
Oh, okay. Let's give everybody else a little bit more time, and then I'll let you share. Who else found the answer to how many packs of seeds Home Depot sold? Okay. Go ahead, Alexander.
So, we start with 0 times 3 equals 0. So you go to 5 times 3, which is 5 times 15. So you do a 5 and then put on a 1 on top of the 2. 2 times 3 equals 6 plus 1 equals 7. So the answer would be 750.
Perfect. Well done, Alexander. And we're going to write it down here next to our question mark because that is what we were trying to solve for. Marcus, I need to see your paper at the end of this and see that you have done the problem. This is what is going to help you to do problems like this on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, Emma.
And if you already learned it, then.
What, Marcus?
And if you already learned it.
Who already learned it?
No, but what happens if you already know how to do it?
Oh, Marcus, you still have to write down these examples. We're going to get into problems that I think may be harder than you think when you have the problem on its own. But if you have examples, then it will help a lot. If we were in class, you would have a textbook with examples, but we don't have that. And so your notes are the next best thing. An example to go along with what you're going to do in your workbook later. Okay, I need you to write this down. Okay, so for an answer sentence, who could tell me what we just solved? What did we just solve for? Dikshita?
We just solved for how many packs of seeds does Home Depot sell?
Excellent. Could you give us an answer sentence? Home Depot sells
750 packs of seeds.
Perfect. I want you to underline the answer there. Home Depot sells 750 packs of seeds. Now, as just an extra bonus part of this, we could solve for the number of packs of seeds in all without doing anything different. Does anybody see how we could do that? We don't have to make a new bar model, but we could solve for how many packs of seeds they sold in all. Rishith, how do you think we could do it?
Add 750 and 250.
Excellent. We could add 250, or we could say 250 times 1, 2, 3, 4, since there are 4 units. Either way, you'd get 250 times 4 is 1,000. So with this model of doing it, it makes it really simple because you just need to know 1 unit and you can solve a lot of problems just with knowing that 1 unit. Okay, for your homework today, you do have some pages to do in your workbook. So Marcus, I'm going to be taking a picture of this to make sure that your parents have it for you to write down. And in the future, I shouldn't have to tell you multiple times, whatever we're writing in this notebook, you also are writing in your notebook, okay? So you've got pages 159 and 160 in your workbook to complete. There are a couple of examples here. This is really similar to what we just did. We've got Carlos, who made 42 muffins. Kim bakes twice as many. So that means 2 times. We can solve it by multiplying 42 times 2. Here is an example bar model for you. So all you have to do is calculate it. But then on the next page, you need to draw the model as well. notice on page 60, or sorry, 160, 4 times that distance. Those are key. Over here, we've got 2 schools. School A collects 76 bundles of newspaper for recycling. School B collects 5 times the number of bundles. So these are just like the examples we did where there is 1 unit compared with, in this case, there's going to be 5 units since it's 5 times as many. Does that make sense, boys and girls? You've got 3 problems and all have the exact same format of a comparison, and depending on how many times it says, that's how many extra units the other school or person has. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, that is all for math today then. So you've got some literature, history, and science posted that should be pretty straightforward, but I will look at that science PDF that Emma mentioned that she wasn't able to pull up. If there's ever times like that where you've got technical, Alina, remember we don't unmute ourselves. So if you've got ever technical problems like that, just send me an email and just go on with anything that you can do, okay? Well, I'll have just my reading group stay with me now. My Tuesday reading group, everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, everybody.
Sorry, on Arshav and Alina today. Everybody else, I'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, so
Bye, everybody else that's all in our groups.
Miss Gardner?
bye.
Yes, I have last week.
Miss Gardner?
Yes. Yes, sweetheart.
Since last week, all my videos were not working.
Okay, you've got this week to catch up on them. I think that I figured out why those literacy and math videos weren't working, but they should be working now.
Okay.
Was it the literacy math video that wasn't working for you?
Every single video in Brighton.
Okay, I think it's because of the way that Mrs. Campbell uploaded them, but I'd like to show you what I think is the problem. Let me go to this one. Okay, does that happen to you?
What?
Did you see what just happened there? Right. If I click on the video, and I'm gonna go through and upload these differently, but if I click on that video, and do you get that page?
Yes.
Okay, do you
But
see where
at
it
the
says
bottom
watch
it
this
says-
video on YouTube?
Bottom it says learn more.
Good morning, everyone.
Sweetheart, click watch this video on YouTube, and then you'll be able to watch it.
All right, but for me, it doesn't like say watch this on YouTube, I think. But at the bottom it says learn more.
Okay, I'm not sure why that is. Ask your parents to help you out with that. Since it should be able to be seen by you. So ask your parents for help, and if they can't figure it out, then you can send me an email.
Okay.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye, Sahanasi.
Okay, well, let's get started on Epic. We're reading a little bit more of King Arthur, and I need to cut this off right at 10:30, so we may not get through quite the whole chapter. So it's been, I guess, about 2 weeks since we've read together. We find our book. Here it is. Okay. Deekshita, would you begin reading for us today? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we are right here with the Black Knight. We heard that Arthur has to fight this person called the Black Knight, and we're not sure what's going on with him.
Okay.
But he's the one who is supposed to fight him. We'll start at the top of the page, upon the far side.
Beyond the river was a lawn of green grass where jousting occurred. Beyond that was a tall, forbidding castle. This must be the castle of Arthur was seeking. Upon the far side of the stream there was an apple tree. Amid the leaves, huge many shields
Do you see this?
hung. Amid the leaves hung many shields. Most were tainted with blood. All of the shields were from those who the Black Knight had